So a time that I had to deal with a conflict and its outcome. Let me take this back. This was when I was a regular kind of lower level worker at this manager or marketing team, excuse me. And some of the context kind of behind it, it was a conflict between a supervisor and a team member who were disagreeing on how to prioritize one of the projects we were working for as we were selling some of the items that we had at our company. So they were disagreeing on basically how to actually market this idea, how to get it out to our consumers. That way they could push it off to their own seller or their own buyers, excuse me. And the team member was feeling more that they were being undervalued and that the supervisor was not taking their ideas into place and into consideration. And that started to lead to some hostility and tension. And that's very important when you're working with a team because you need to have cohesion and you don't want anything to affect morale because that can affect timeliness. And now we're not getting our product out as efficiently as we need to. And it just started to create that tension that was there. And it was kind of unruly for the rest of us. It just, you could tell there was something off with how the team was working. So we took a couple steps. The first thing we had to do was how could we look at this as not just an opportunity to resolve the conflict, but how could we use this as a growth opportunity? Because that was the main goal of our company there is we don't want to just have people feel like they are being pushed down. We want to make sure that they are growing from the opportunity and they have better connections with the people who they're having a conflict with at the moment. So some of the actions that I was taking, I was encouraging basically them to have open communication first and foremost. That's the most important thing, by setting up just a one-on-one meeting between the two of them. That way they could listen to each other's concerns. And the biggest portion of this was we were doing this without any response or judgment from the other person. They just need to sit and listen as they took turns saying their sides. And then we were able to let them go into more of the why that happened. But the big portion of it was they need to understand the perspective from either sides. And that really helps kind of unmuddy the waters, and it helps identify that root cause. Something else we're looking at is how to basically use this on different levels. So because this was a supervisor to a team member, how could we use this if this was a supervisor to supervisor, manager to manager, different levels of the organization? That way we can solve these conflicts. So what we had to do is we did have different levels of the team, but we made sure that there was an emphasis on the mutual respect. So just because one person is a supervisor to the other member does not mean in this setting that they are necessarily in charge. It is something that needed to be handled well to make sure that right now you guys are on equal playing fields because we're going to solve this problem. And that kind of goes into reminding them of what the whole goal was. You are both working towards our organizational goals, getting this product out on time in an effective manner for a sufficient product. And we want to do that so they could really understand what we were doing, right? We're not just doing this to solve the conflict between you just so you feel kind of good. We want to make sure the whole company is successful afterwards. And that kind of went into a how do we focus on a win-win solution as well? Because if the supervisor feels they're validated but the team member is not, we obviously aren't going to have a successful outcome. So what we're looking at is how can we collaborate on a new project that incorporated the team member's ideas while still meeting the supervisor's priorities and the deadlines that he's setting. And this was more of a conversation to get their ideas, again, from that one-on-one that we use in order to come up with those ideas. That way we made sure both of the parties felt valued and that they were motivated to work together going forward, because we don't want them to leave as enemies, as we said. We want them to actually have a better relationship. So really what happened in the outcome is they felt much better about it. I think the biggest portion that helped them was being able to view each other's perspectives. A lot of times it's just a misunderstanding and people don't understand those. So that was one of the big things, as well as making sure that they both kind of walked away with a win. And again, that stemmed from them having an understanding, but them both walking away, understanding what our organizational goals are, as well as what the individual outcomes need to be when working together. So obviously there's going to be that individual and team outcome, and that's what we're looking at, is understanding that when we work better together by taking in ideas and listening to the supervisors and the managers, whatever that higher person is, that we actually move more efficiently. And the last big takeaway I'll mention is how they learned kind of where the boundaries are. So the supervisor isn't going to shut down any ideas at all times, but they do have that level of responsibility to sometimes tell the team member, whoever is that almost good idea fairy, hey, take a step back. we are going to do it this way because I know this works. I appreciate your ideas, and basically just making sure that they're acknowledging that the other person has an idea and that they hear the idea, but they're not always going to use that idea. And I think that's the most important thing where they both took it away, because really the team member just felt like they weren't being valued at all. And by acknowledging that they were being being acknowledged, in lack of better words, they were able to see that their input was valued and that they could continue to give ideas, whether they're followed or not. They just wanted to know that they were being listened to. It's one of those things where, conflict is going to rise in the workplace, but having those kind of mentalities where you want to use it as a growth opportunity, you want to be able to use it on different levels, so it's not just you can kind of a fix all almost if you can. And finally, focusing on win-win solutions. That really is our big goal that we have with this.